Ethan Crow had only wanted a quiet weekend at his forest-side cabin in Cedar Hollow Estates. A cybercrime analyst by trade, he was used to chasing digital ghosts, not real ones. Yet the moment he arrived, he sensed the air itself had changed. At the gate, an SUV with the Cedar Hollow HOA logo pulled up. Meredith Hale, the HOA president, stepped out, clipboard in hand, her smile practiced but cold. "Mr. Crow, your arrival wasn't logged," she said, tilting her head. "Rules changed. You'll need a seasonal occupancy permit." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "This is my property." Her eyes flickered, just for a second, revealing something sharper beneath the polite mask. Ethan knew immediately this wasn't a simple HOA. It was organized, methodical, and dangerous. When he reached the cabin, lights were on inside, though he'd left it dark and locked 3 months ago. Fresh footprints led to the porch. In the mailbox were 3 violation notices. An unauthorized satellite dish, he had never installed one. A noise complaint, the house had been empty. A suspicious activity report in his name. That night he reviewed his cameras. A blinking light moved along the tree line. A drone, low, deliberate, almost patient, hovering directly in front of his windows, then disappearing into the shadows. He zoomed in, heart sinking. On the drone's underside was a barcode-like sticker. CHEHOA, property 9217. The next morning, as he walked along the gravel road, an old man approached him quietly. "Leave while you still can," he whispered. "Meredith isn't just a president. She doesn't act alone. Cedar Hollow has a way of marking people, and once marked, you're never safe." Ethan froze. "Who are you?" The man's eyes were haunted. "I'm someone whose home was bulldozed under the guise of an accidental fire. And this list," he slipped a folded piece of paper into Ethan's pocket. Ethan unfolded it. It was a list of 18 property owners, check marks next to most names and 4 crossed out. Below, written in small, precise letters, "Targets. Phase 4 begins soon." Ethan's stomach tightened. He had come for a peaceful weekend. Instead, he had walked straight into a meticulous, unseen campaign, and now he realized he was the next target. The forest, once a sanctuary, suddenly felt like a trap, and Cedar Hollow wasn't just a community, it was a game, and the players were watching. By dawn, Ethan had mapped every route, every camera angle, every footstep he could see from his cabin. He didn't panic. Panic was exactly what Meredith Hale wanted. She thrived on fear, the way a spider thrives on vibrations in its web. He had already checked every network, every device. The HOA had installed a smart lock system with remote access, installed without his consent. Every door, every gate, every motion sensor could be monitored, controlled, even logged against him. He needed allies, but the community was silent, watching. Neighbors avoided eye contact, their mailboxes filled with the same violation notices Ethan had received. Fear had metastasized. That afternoon, he got a tip from someone anonymous, signed only M. A small USB drive was left at the foot of a tree along the trail near his cabin. Inside, he found a folder of emails, contracts, and spreadsheets, all pointing to Meredith's strategy. Developers were quietly buying up undeveloped parcels in Cedar Hollow. Meredith was orchestrating emergency demolition orders using forged permits. Homeowners who resisted were targeted with drone surveillance, false complaints, and financial penalties. Some families had already abandoned homes, their property seized under fabricated HOA rulings. Ethan leaned back, gripping the desk. The scope was staggering. It wasn't harassment, it was a takeover. He knew he had to act carefully. One wrong move and Meredith could escalate. So he did what she never expected. He went invisible. No cameras, no traceable signals, no digital footprint. He began observing the HOA from the edges, a ghost in his own neighborhood. Late that night, he spotted a pattern. The HOA's drones followed predictable patrols. Delivery trucks, utility workers, even the mail routes had been manipulated to surveil and intimidate residents. Every action was logged, cataloged, weaponized. Using this knowledge, Ethan began counter-surveillance. He rigged a relay to mirror the HOA's network, capturing internal communications in real time. Emails flew across screens like lightning strikes, each one revealing a layer of the conspiracy. Meredith coordinating with a contractor to inspect and sabotage specific cabins, manipulating permits to look legitimate to authorities, targeting anyone brave enough to speak up. Then came the bombshell, a meeting agenda for the HOA board. It was scheduled for the coming Friday. Agenda item number 7, addressing non-compliant residents, Phase 4 execution. Phase 4. That was him. Ethan realized, with cold clarity, that the HOA had planned this escalation for months, and he was the centerpiece. So instead of hiding, he prepared a trap. He used the mirrored network to set decoy files, planted documents suggesting other residents were planning resistance. Meredith and her board bit immediately, sending drones, contractors, and internal audits to monitor and disrupt non-existent rebellions. Every move they made, Ethan recorded. By Thursday night, Ethan had a digital dossier that could bring down Cedar Hollow's corrupt HOA entirely. Evidence of forged documents, surveillance abuses, intimidation tactics, and collusion with developers. But he knew that documents alone wouldn't be enough. Meredith thrived in chaos and narrative control. He needed witnesses, live proof, and exposure that no one could dismiss. So he crafted a plan, a community assembly, under the guise of a casual gathering at the old lake dock, a place where Meredith had no authority, no bylaws to hide behind, and he would have one chance to show the entire community the truth, all of it, before Meredith could strike again. As he set up cameras, lights, and recording equipment, he felt the weight of the coming confrontation. He wasn't just fighting Meredith Hale anymore. He was fighting a system designed to punish anyone who dared to resist. And for the first time since he arrived at Cedar Hollow, Ethan felt a spark of hope. Because while fear could be manufactured, truth, real, undeniable truth, could not be. The night was dark, the lake still, the air thick with anticipation. Ethan stood at the edge of the dock, checking cameras and audio one last time. Residents had been quietly invited, neighbors wary, curious, some skeptical. He had promised nothing but the truth, and the truth was enough. By 7 p.m., 20 families gathered, folding chairs creaking under them, whispering anxiously. Meredith Hale wasn't invited, of course, but she had already noticed something strange. Drones hovering at odd angles, contractors mysteriously diverted, internal emails indicating anomalies. Panic flickered across her face as she tried to regain control remotely, but Ethan had locked their access, mirrored it, and trapped every move. He stepped onto the dock, hands steady, voice calm. "Tonight, you see what's been happening in Cedar Hollow. Not rumors, not assumptions, proof." He projected emails, spreadsheets, and surveillance footage, drones tracking homeowners without consent, contractors following fabricated inspection orders, forged permits authorizing demolitions, spreadsheets showing false fines levied to push families out. Every signature, every date, every line of text traced back to Meredith and her inner circle. Gasps filled the air. Some neighbors shook their heads in disbelief. Others cried quietly. Children sat close to parents, sensing the tension. Ethan paused, letting the silence settle. This is what happens when fear is allowed to rule a community. When one person hides behind rules and titles while breaking them for personal gain. This is what we have been subjected to. A hand went up. Linda, the neighbor who had long watched with binoculars, spoke. "But can we stop her?" "Yes. We expose her. We document her. We rebuild Cedar Hollow so this never happens again. Not just here, anywhere she tries to take power." Then came Meredith herself. She arrived in a black SUV, stepping out like a queen confronting intruders in her domain, her face twisted with fury, her clipboard in hand like a shield. She demanded, "What is this? Who authorized this gathering?" Ethan didn't flinch. "No one authorized it. I did, because you left us no choice." She lunged for the dock, yelling accusations, threats, lies. But every drone, every camera, every device she tried to activate had been turned against her. Her emails, intercepted and logged, were projected live. Every lie she spoke contradicted her own documents, displayed for all to see. The crowd watched, horrified and fascinated, as the web of her deceit unraveled in real time. The contractors she had bribed to carry out demolitions admitted on video that they had been paid to intimidate, not inspect. Board members who feared her stepped forward, offering confessions and apologies. Meredith froze. Her empire, meticulously built on intimidation and fear, collapsed in front of her. The community wasn't just watching, they were reclaiming their voice. Ethan turned to the crowd. "We aren't just here to stop one person. We are here to ensure no one ever controls Cedar Hollow this way again. From today, rules are transparent. Oversight is real. Leadership rotates. No one holds unchecked power." Meredith screamed, threatened, tried to manipulate, but it was too late. State investigators, already monitoring the mirrored network, arrived minutes later, armed with irrefutable evidence. By dawn, Meredith Hale was facing charges for fraud, harassment, and abuse of authority. The HOA board was dissolved. A new council was elected with mandatory term limits, ethical oversight, and direct community voting. Cedar Hollow breathed again. Weeks later, Ethan sat on his porch, the lake calm, the air clean. Kids laughed across the gravel roads, neighbors waved, and for the first time in years, fear no longer dictated lives. He knew Meredith would try to resurface elsewhere, but the systems put in place ensured she could never wield unchecked power again. That night, as the stars reflected on the lake, Ethan whispered to himself, "This isn't just victory. It's proof that courage, truth, and community can dismantle even the darkest empires built on fear. And somewhere far away, Meredith Hale realized that the throne she sought wasn't meant for tyrants. It belonged to those who protected, not prayed. Cedar Hollow was safe, and for the first time in a long time, justice wasn't just an idea. It was real, final, and unshakable.
Every neighborhood has its secrets, and every Karen leaves her mark. If you love true HOA stories like this, make sure to watch more on our channel, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-life neighborhood drama. Thank you.